At first glance, they look completely normal. Small, brown, worn. The kind of coins most people ignore. The kind that sit quietly in jars for years. But what if I told you, among these 3 simple wheat pennies, one high-grade survivor could be worth enough to help fund a dream house? Sounds impossible for 1 cent, right? These coins were struck at a powerful moment in history, right after global war ended, when America was rebuilding, expanding, and stepping into prosperity. They weren't made to be collectibles. They weren't protected. They were meant to circulate, to be spent, to wear down, and most of them did. But the few that survived in exceptional condition, with sharp details, bold mint marks, and original red surfaces, are a completely different story. Because sometimes, the difference between pocket change and a life-changing opportunity is just condition, rarity, and timing. Before you overlook another old wheat penny, take a closer look. That small copper coin in your jar might be holding bigger dreams than you think. Welcome back to Old Coin Secrets. Coin number 1, 1944 D steel cent, a wartime mistake that was never meant to exist. Some coins are remembered for beauty. Some coins are remembered for age. But some coins are remembered because they were never supposed to exist. The 1944 D steel cent belongs to that category. It was struck during the final years of World War II, when copper was desperately needed for ammunition, wiring, and military equipment. In 1943, the U.S. Mint switched pennies from copper to zinc-coated steel. In 1944, copper returned. But in Denver, something unusual happened. A few leftover steel planchets from 1943 were accidentally fed into the presses. And just like that, a coin was created that should not exist. Not a commemorative, not a special release, not a planned rarity, a mistake. And today, that mistake is one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. America in 1944. War and production. The year 1944 was intense. Factories were running 24 hours a day. Steel, copper, rubber. Everything was directed toward war. The D-Day invasion took place that year. The Allied forces were pushing back across Europe. The U.S. Mint was under enormous pressure to produce coins efficiently. Speed mattered. Precision sometimes suffered. And in that environment, errors were possible. The 1944 D steel cent was born from that pressure. The Lincoln cent, a war survivor. By 1944, the Lincoln Wheat design had already been in circulation for 35 years. Originally introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it had become a symbol of stability. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Through World War I, through the Great Depression, and now through World War II, the design endured. But 1944 created one of its greatest rarities. Design details what makes it different. At first glance, it looks like a normal 1944 D penny. Obverse, front Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date, 1944. Mint mark, D below the date. Reverse, back. 2 wheat stalks, 1 cent. United States of America. But the metal tells the real story. Unlike the normal copper 1944 penny, this coin is silver gray in color, sticks to a magnet, weighs about 2.7 grams. That magnetic reaction is the key. Because 1944 pennies were not supposed to be steel. How rare is the 1944 D steel cent? Extremely rare. Experts estimate only a very small number exist, possibly fewer than a dozen confirmed examples. That makes it one of the rarest regular issue Lincoln cents ever produced. Not because of low mintage, but because it was accidental. Most 1944 pennies were copper. Only a handful were steel, and most of those were likely discovered decades later. What collectors look for? Serious collectors check. Ein Magnettest. If it sticks, that's the first sign. 2 weight. Steel cents weigh around 2.7 grams. Copper cents weigh about 3.11 grams. 3 surface. Original zinc coating shows natural aging. Altered or plated coins look suspiciously shiny. 4 professional authentication. Because counterfeits exist, some copper 1944 pennies are plated to look like steel. Only certified examples hold true value. Market value. When 1 cent becomes life-changing. Here's where things become serious. Authenticated 1944 D steel cents have sold at major auctions for $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 plus. Depending on condition and demand, prices have reached into the high 6 figures. Condition changes everything. Original surfaces matter. Sharp details matter. Certification matters. One small steel coin, originally worth 1 cent, can now equal the price of luxury homes or multiple dream cars. Common mistakes that destroy value. Many people unknowingly ruin coins by cleaning, polishing, scrubbing with chemicals, trying to improve the surface. Shiny does not mean valuable. Original means valuable. Once cleaned, value drops dramatically. Where these coins are still found. Even today, rare Lincoln cents appear in inherited collections, old coin albums, estate sales, bank rolls, family keepsake boxes. Most steel-looking 1944 pennies are altered copper coins. But once in a while, a real one appears. And when it does, experts pay attention. What this coin symbolizes. The 1944 D steel cent represents wartime urgency, minting pressure, industrial intensity, a small mistake during global conflict. It is not just metal. It is a physical reminder of how fast history was moving in 1944. A single leftover planche, a single moment in production, a single coin that was never meant to exist. The 1944 D steel cent is powerful not because it is old, but because it was accidental. Most were never made, most never existed, only a few survived. So if you ever see a 1944 penny that sticks to a magnet, pause. Because that small steel coin may have slipped through the cracks of wartime America. And today, it might be worth far more than 1 cent. Coin number 2, 1946 wheat penny, the first penny of a new world. Some coins are born in war. Some coins are struck in crisis. But some coins are created at the exact moment the world begins again. The 1946 wheat penny belongs to that moment. It was struck in the first full year after World War II ended. The fighting had stopped. Soldiers were returning home. Factories were shifting back to civilian production. And quietly, the 1946 wheat penny entered circulation, not as a treasure, not as a rarity, but as the first penny of a new era. America in 1946, rebuilding and hope. The year 1946 was different. The war was over. Victory celebrations had passed. Now came rebuilding. Millions of veterans returned home. The baby boom was beginning. Industry shifted from tanks to appliances. The American economy prepared for massive expansion. It was a year of transition. And pennies once again represented stability. Copper was no longer restricted like it had been during the war. Normal production had returned. The 1946 wheat penny reflects that return to peace. The Lincoln cent, still standing. By 1946, the Lincoln wheat design had survived. World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, the 1943 steel experiment, first introduced in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner. It had become one of the most recognizable coins in American history. Through turmoil and recovery, the design never changed. It became a symbol of continuity. Design details, a classic return, obverse, front Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date, 1946. Reverse, back, 2 wheat stalks, 1 cent. United States of America. The metal returned to the standard bronze composition. Warm brown tones, sometimes red-brown. After the silver-gray steel cents of 1943, copper once again felt familiar. Where the 1946 wheat penny was struck. The 1946 wheat penny was produced at Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Denver Mint, D mint mark. San Francisco Mint, S mint mark. Philadelphia struck the largest quantity. Denver and San Francisco produced slightly fewer. Because production levels were high, the coin is common in circulated grades. But condition is where things change. A coin made for daily life. In 1946, pennies were working coins. They paid for newspapers, milk, candy, busfare. There were no protective holders, no grading services. Coins were used heavily. As a result, Lincoln's hair detail often wore down. Cheeks became smooth. Wheat lines faded. Surfaces darkened. High-grade survivors are much scarcer than mintage numbers suggest. What collectors look for today? When evaluating a 1946 wheat penny, collectors examine 1 strong hair detail above the ear, 2 clear separation in the cheek and jaw, 3 sharp inner wheat lines, 4 clean original surfaces, 5 natural red or red-brown color. Red mint state examples bring the strongest premiums. Cleaning destroys value. Originality is everything. Market value, realistic price ranges. 1946 Philadelphia, good, G4, 0.05, 0.15. Fine, F12, 0.15, 0.50. Very fine, VF20, 0.50, 2. Extremely fine, XF40, $2, 5. About uncirculated, AU, 5. Winty, Mint State, MS63 Brown, $20, $40. Mint State, MS65 Red, under 50, 400 plus. High-grade red examples can exceed $6,900 at auction. Condition changes everything. 1 cent can quietly become 4 figures. Why the 1946 wheat penny matters. The 1946 wheat penny represents the first year of post-war America, economic rebuilding, industrial transition, the beginning of long-term prosperity. It is not famous for dramatic mint errors. It is important because of timing. It marks the start of peace after global conflict. Common mistakes that reduce value. Many coins lose value because of polishing, chemical cleaning, improper storage, environmental damage. Collectors prefer natural patina, original surfaces, untouched texture. Shiny does not mean rare. Original means valuable. Where 1946 wheat pennies are still found. Even today, they appear in old family collections, estate sales, coin jars, inherited albums, bankrolls. Most are worth only a few cents, but high-grade examples still attract serious collectors. The 1946 wheat penny is not a coin of war. It is a coin of recovery. It represents a world starting over. Most were spent. Most were worn down. Most were forgotten. But the few that survived in strong condition now carry real collector demand. So if you ever find a 1946 wheat penny, pause. Because that small copper coin may be one of the first quiet witnesses to America's post-war rise. And sometimes, the first year of peace is more powerful than the last year of war. Coin number 3, 1947 wheat penny. A penny from the beginning of American prosperity. It was struck when America was no longer fighting a war, but building a future. The guns were silent. Factories were shifting to consumer goods. Families were growing. The economy was expanding. And through all of that transformation, the 1947 wheat penny quietly entered circulation. Not as a rare collectible, not as a historic error, but as everyday money in a nation stepping into prosperity. America in 1947, growth after war. The year 1947 marked the early stages of the American economic boom. Returning soldiers were settling down. Suburbs were expanding. The baby boom was accelerating. Consumer demand was rising. Manufacturing shifted fully to civilian production. America was confident again. The uncertainty of war was fading, and copper pennies once again flowed normally through commerce. The 1947 wheat penny represents stability returning to everyday life. The Lincoln cent, a symbol of continuity. By 1947, the Lincoln wheat design had survived nearly 4 decades. Introduced in 1909 and designed by Victor David Brenner, it had become one of the most recognized coin designs in U.S. history. It endured World War I, the Great Depression, World War II. Through all of it, the design remained unchanged. That consistency gave it quiet strength. Design details: obverse, front Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date: 1947. Reverse, back, 2 wheat stalks, 1 cent. United States of America. The coin was struck in bronze, 95% copper. It displays warm tones ranging from brown to bright red. High-grade red examples are especially attractive to collectors. Where the 1947 wheat penny was struck. The 1947 wheat penny was produced at Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Denver Mint, D mint mark. San Francisco Mint, S mint mark. Philadelphia struck the largest number. Denver and San Francisco produced smaller quantities. Because production levels were strong, the coin is common in circulated condition. But as always, condition changes everything. A coin meant to work. In 1947, pennies were everyday currency. They paid for candy, soda, boosfare, newspapers, basic groceries. They were carried in pockets and purses. There were no plastic holders, no grading services, no long-term protection. As a result, hair detail wore down, cheeks flattened, wheat lines faded, surfaces darkened. High-grade survivors are far scarcer than the mintage suggests. What collectors look for. When evaluating a 1947 wheat penny, collectors inspect 1 sharp hair detail above Lincoln's ear, 2 clear cheek and jaw definition, 3 strong inner wheat lines, a bold mint mark, D or S if present, 5 original red or red-brown surfaces. Red mint state coins command the strongest premiums. Cleaning ruins value. Original surfaces are everything. Market value, realistic price ranges. 1947 Philadelphia, good, G4, 0.05, 0.15. Fine, F12, 0.15, 0.50. Very fine, VF20. 0.50, 2. Extremely fine, XF40. $2, 5. About uncirculated, AU. FIDO, 20. Mint state, MS63 brown. 25.50. Mint state, MS65 red. 150, 500 plus. Exceptional red gems can exceed $21,000 at auction. 1 cent can quietly become 4 figures. Why the 1947 wheat penny matters. The 1947 wheat penny represents the early years of post-war prosperity, the beginning of long-term economic growth, the stability of late 1940s America, the calm before the Cold War intensified. It is not dramatic. It is not controversial. It is steady. And sometimes, steady years are the foundation of powerful futures. Common mistakes that reduce value. Many coins lose value because of polishing, cleaning, improper storage, environmental damage. Collectors prefer natural patina, original texture, untouched surfaces. Artificial shine is a warning sign. Originality equals value. Where 1947 wheat pennies are still found. Even today, they appear in old family albums, estate sales, coin jars, inherited collections, bankroll searches. Most are common, but high-grade red examples still attract strong collector interest. Final thought. The 1947 wheat penny is not a coin of war. It is a coin of momentum. It represents a country moving forward, confident, expanding, rebuilding. Most were worn down. Most were spent without thought. Most were forgotten. But the few that survived in premium condition now carry real collector value. So if you ever find a 1947 wheat penny, pause. Because that small copper coin may have circulated during the very beginning of modern American prosperity. And sometimes, the quiet years are the ones that shape history the most. So now take a moment and really think about what you've just seen. 3 simple wheat pennies. No gold, no silver, no dramatic mint errors splashed across the surface. Just small copper coins, struck during the early years of America's post-war rise. Most people would never look twice at them. Most people would spend them without hesitation. But collectors understand something different. They understand that value is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is hidden in condition. Sometimes it is waiting in a forgotten jar. These pennies were made during a powerful transition, when the world was rebuilding, when families were growing, when prosperity was just beginning. They passed through the hands of workers, veterans, shop owners, and children buying candy. They were part of daily life. And that's exactly why high-grade examples are special today. Because they weren't meant to survive in perfect condition. They were meant to work. They were meant to wear down. And most of them did. But a few didn't. A few were set aside. A few were preserved. A few kept their sharp hair detail, bold wheat lines, and original red color. And those few are the difference between pocket change and serious collector value. That's the lesson. Not every old coin is rare. Not every wheat penny will buy a house. But condition changes everything. Mint mark matters. Original surfaces matter. Patience matters. Before you clean a coin, don't. Before you ignore an old penny, check it. Before you assume it's worthless, look closer. Because sometimes the smallest pieces of history carry the strongest financial potential. And sometimes, a coin that once bought a piece of candy can now contribute towards something far bigger, maybe even part of a dream house. So the next time you see a wheat penny dated from the 1940s, pause, examine the details, check the mint mark, study the color. History may be sitting in your palm. If you enjoy discovering hidden value, historic coins, and stories where 1 cent can turn into something extraordinary, make sure you stay connected. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, because the next coin we explore might be even more powerful.